name's Clifford. I'm a psychotherapist and I'd like to welcome you all to my therapy room. Today I'd like to talk about something that is becoming ever more popular, something that we read about and we hear about on a daily basis. It's something that may be very familiar to you as a word, but maybe you'd like to know a little bit more about. And this is the practice known as mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is something that has its roots way back when. And I'll tell you a little bit about the history, but before I do so, let me explain, as I understand it, what mindfulness is. I'll use an illustration. If you could imagine that it's a lovely sunny day and you're out for a walk in the garden and you see a big yellow flower, and on that big yellow flower there's a big bumblebee just kind of eating, taking a bit of nectar, and at that moment you're kind of captivated by what you see. You're just looking at this wondrous sight of nature in front of you, and at that moment you're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking about what you did yesterday or even this morning, and neither are you thinking about what you've got to get to the shops later in the day. At this moment you're just looking at that flower and you are really what we call in the moment. What happens is not just are you in the moment, but something very special is happening, and that is that your brain waves are, instead of being a very spiky, rapid, fast brain movement that we know as the beta brain movement, with 13 to 30 cycles per second of brain activity, your brain has now switched into, just the moment you started looking at that bumblebee, your brain was switching into the alpha mode, which is a slower, kind of more wave-like brain pattern, and that's somewhere in the region of, say, 7 to 13 cycles per second. Now, that is the usual kind of level of activity in the brain when you're being mindful. I guess deeper states of relaxation, those known as theta and delta are the ones you would associate with sleep, but it's the alpha brain patterns that we're interested in here. So when that happens, it really does impact. I mean, it's not just the brainwave activity, and you can see this if you look on the internet and you look at brain scans, you'll see kind of before and after scans, which is quite interesting that we can use modern science like that to tell us what's going on. Also, the kind of the more contented, happiness regions of the brain are also more active. So if you want to be happy, just get into a bit of mindfulness. Also, it's useful because for conditions like chronic pain, depression, anxiety and stress states, that all benefit from mindfulness. Now, in terms of where it's practiced, well, you'll begin to see it in more and more places. It's used in educational settings, schools, universities, to help students manage stress, anxiety, to help them with their studies. It's used in hospitals, prisons, and it's even used in the military, where they have practicing something known as mindfulness-based mind fitness training, or MFIT to be short. So it's not just something that kind of cross-legged people with incense and bells and sitting around and practice. It's something that we can really bring about in our everyday life, and you don't need to wear any special clothes or anything like that. Where does mindfulness originate? Well, it goes. You've got to really look back maybe to the 4th century, and there was a man called Sudara Gautama, who was the historical founder of Buddhism. He was born a prince in Nepal, and he was, like many of his generation, keen to look and try to find something that could really improve his life. Because although he had wealth and although he had all the things you can imagine, he wasn't happy inside. He wasn't. He knew there was something else, and so he went off on a quest, on a pilgrimage, if you like. And it was while he was sitting under, legend had it, while he was sitting under a bodhi tree, he gained enlightenment, and he turned his back on his wealth, and he started telling others about his vision, if you like, for his vision for a new way of moving through life. And it was his practitioners who really developed the early practices that have led us to mindfulness today. They practiced a type of meditation known as vipassana. It's a way of self-transformation through self-observation. It focuses on the deep interconnection between the mind and body. And for myself, as a body therapist as well as a talking therapist, I'm very interested in that kind of interconnection between the two. Now, if you move forward, many years, you will find that that this practice was picked up, let's say, by the hippies who were on their journeys to India and Tibet and Nepal in the kind of the late 60s, and they were meeting these very, very wise people sitting down and learning how to cultivate this practice of meditation. And they stayed around and they hung around and were really learning the skills. And I guess when their visas ran out, they returned to America or wherever, and they took all these wonderful practices back with them. And it was some years later that one of those people who'd been out there, a person named as John Kabat-Zinn, who we would nowadays really regard as if you like, the forefather of mindfulness. He's not a psychologist. His background as a doctor of molecular biology. So that was his kind of background, and he was very keen to promote mindfulness meditation, and he set up the Stress Reduction Clinic in 1979. And if you can imagine, back in those days, it was kind of pre-Obama health care. You had a two-tier system where you had those who could afford it with medical insurance, and those who couldn't just took what was available on the state. And often the people who were in that group were people with chronic mental health problems, anxiety, depression, stress, schizophrenia, being troubled by worrying thoughts, being troubled by ruminations, by hallucinations, delusions. This kind of group of people were there with little hope of real positive change other than staying on medication for many years. And so John Kabat-Zinn, he decided that he would use mindfulness as a way of seeing if he could help these people. So he promoted an 8-week course known as the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Program, and wow, fantastic results. Unbelievable that people who had been troubled for years, people who had all kinds of worrying symptoms, suddenly found that they were able to manage them, that they were able to let the troubling thoughts go, that they were not so concerned with the pain as they had been, instead of fighting it, they were allowing just to accept it. And this really brought about a real profound change, and really started this whole movement to get mindfulness meditation, greater acceptance and recognition. And slowly it grew, and from America came eventually to the UK, where I kind of fell in love with it. And as a practice, it really has an awful lot to offer. This ability to be in the moment, or this moment by moment awareness of being able to just let things go, being able to not be caught up by what might happen in the future, because that only kind of leads to kind of worries and anxiety, and being caught up looking at the back, you end up going over things in the past and turning them around in your mind, and that can make you feel bad too. So just staying in the moment is to me a really powerful and positive thing that anybody could do, and something that I would encourage anybody watching this to go out and to learn and to develop. And if you look at some future ones of these therapy room series, I'm going to include some mindfulness meditations for you. So I really look forward to that, and thank you very much for watching today. Thank you. Bye bye.